Nina Morales pressed her back against the concrete wall outside the office building. Her fingers had stopped responding 20 minutes ago. The cardboard box beside her held everything she owned from Riverside Bistro. 2 years of her life packed into soggy cardboard. The snow kept falling. Each flake melted against her burgundy apron, the one she had ironed every morning before her shift. The fabric felt heavy now, soaked and useless. Her phone battery had died an hour ago. She had nowhere to charge it. No one to call, even if she could, Manager Thompson. It screamed the words in front of everyone. Thief. Liar. The accusations echoed in her mind like a cruel song. He had not checked the security cameras. He had not recounted the register. He simply pointed at her and destroyed everything. Nina thought about her daughter, sleeping safely at her mother's house 2 hours away. 6-year-old Emma did not know her mother had lost the job that paid for her dance classes. Emma did not know the rent was due in 3 days. Emma believed her mother was strong and capable and could fix anything. The lie felt heavier than the cold. A stranger's concern the black sedan had passed by twice already. Nina noticed but did not care. She had watched hundreds of cars drive past in the last 3 hours. Everyone had somewhere to be. Everyone had lives that worked. The third time, the car stopped. Nina kept her eyes down. She did not want pity. She did not want some stranger taking a photo of her misery to post online. She just wanted to disappear into the snow and wake up in a world where today had not happened. Footsteps crunched on the frozen sidewalk. "Excuse me. Are you all right?" The voice belonged to a man. Nina could hear genuine concern in his tone. She hated that she could hear it. Concern meant questions. Questions meant explaining. Explaining meant reliving the humiliation. "I'm fine. Please, leave me alone." Her voice cracked. She cursed herself for the weakness. "You've been sitting here for hours. I've been watching from my office window." Nina looked up then. The man crouching in front of her wore an expensive wool coat. Everything about him spoke of money. His watch probably cost more than her car. His shoes were leather, untouched by the snow that was destroying her sneakers. "I don't need your charity." "I'm not offering charity. I'm offering basic human decency." Something in his eyes made her pause. They were not filled with pity. They held something closer to understanding, as if he knew what it felt like to be invisible while the world moved on. "Reluctant trust, my name is Julian Foster. I work in that building behind you." Nina studied his face. Early 30s, sharp features softened by exhaustion. He looked like someone who had forgotten how to sleep properly. Someone carrying weight he could not put down. Nina Morales. "Not that it matters. It matters." Julian extended his hand. Nina stared at it. When was the last time someone had offered her a handshake instead of judgment? She took his hand. His grip was warm and firm. "There's a coffee shop 2 blocks from here. It stays open late. Let me buy you something hot to drink." "I don't have money to pay you back. I'm not asking you to." Nina wanted to refuse. Every instinct screamed danger. Strange men did not help women they found on the street without wanting something. But her body was failing. Her legs would not support her weight anymore. The cold had stolen her ability to stand. "I can't get up." The admission broke something inside her. Nina started crying, not gentle tears. Loud, ugly sobs that shook her entire frame. All the fear and anger and shame she had been holding back erupted. Julian did not tell her to calm down. He did not look away in discomfort, simply waited. Unexpected kindness when Nina's sobs quieted. Julian stood and removed his coat. He draped it over her shoulders before she could protest. The warmth hit her like a physical force. She had not realized how close to hypothermia she had been. "I'm going to help you stand. Is that okay?" Nina nodded. Words felt impossible. Julian slipped one arm behind her back and another under her knees. He lifted her as if she weighed nothing. Nina tensed. Every warning bell in her mind rang at full volume. "I'm not going to hurt you, I promise." His voice stayed steady and calm. Nina found herself believing him. She had no logical reason to trust this stranger. But sometimes survival meant taking leaps of faith. He carried her to his car and settled her gently in the passenger seat. The leather was soft and heated. Nina closed her eyes as warmth seeped into her frozen body. Pain shot through her fingers and toes as circulation returned. It hurts when you start to feel again. Julian's observation was quiet. He started the engine and turned the heat to maximum. The coffee shop is just ahead. You can sit for as long as you need. Nina opened her eyes. Through the windshield, she could see the shop. Warm lights glowed through steamed windows. People inside laughed and talked. It's normal people with normal problems. Why are you doing this? It's because someone should have stopped 3 hours ago? The simplicity of his answer struck her. No grand explanations. No savior complex. Just basic human kindness that had become so rare it felt miraculous. Thank you. The words felt inadequate. They were all she had. Julian parked the car and looked at her with those tired, understanding eyes. Come on, let's get you warm. For the first time in 3 hours, Nina felt a small spark of hope. The coffee shop wrapped around Nina like a blanket. The smell of fresh bread and roasted beans filled her lungs. She sat in a corner booth while Julian ordered at the counter. Her hands trembled around the ceramic mug he had brought her moments before. Steam rose from the hot chocolate. Nina took a small sip. The sweetness exploded on her tongue. She had forgotten what warmth tasted like. Julian returned with a tray. 2 sandwiches, a slice of apple pie, and another mug of coffee for himself. He set everything down without ceremony. You need to eat. Nina stared at the food. Her stomach growled despite her protests. She had not eaten since yesterday morning. Pride fought with hunger. Hunger won. The first bite of the sandwich nearly made her cry again. Turkey and cheese on sourdough bread. Simple and perfect. She ate slowly, forcing herself not to devour everything like a starving animal. Julian watched her, but said nothing. He sipped his coffee and waited. The patience in his silence felt like a gift. I have a daughter. The words tumbled out before Nina could stop them. She had not planned to share anything personal. Something about this stranger made her want to be honest. Her name is Emma. She's 6 years old. She thinks I'm at work right now. She doesn't know I lost my job. She doesn't know we might lose our apartment. Julian leaned forward slightly. His expression stayed neutral but attentive. Where is she now? With my mother. 2 hours away in a small town you've never heard of? I came to Portland 3 years ago because the wages were better. I thought I could give Emma more opportunities here. You came alone? Nina nodded. The old pain resurfaced. Her father left when I was pregnant. They said he wasn't ready to be a dad. I haven't seen him since. That takes courage. Raising a child alone in a new city? The compliment caught her off guard. Most people offered pity when they learned her story. Julian offered respect. It doesn't feel courageous. It feels like survival. Sometimes those are the same thing. Shared scars. Nina finished her sandwich. The food restored some of her strength. She studied Julian across the table. He had dark circles under his eyes. His shirt was wrinkled beneath his expensive sweater. He looked like a man who worked too hard and slept too little. Your turn. Why were you working so late on a Friday night? Julian smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. Avoiding going home to an empty apartment? No family? Not anymore. My wife left 6 months ago. She said I loved my work more than I loved her. She was probably right. The admission hung between them. Nina recognized the tone. The quiet acceptance of personal failure. Do you have kids? No, she wanted them. I kept saying we should wait. Wait until the company was more stable. Wait until we had more money. Wait until everything was perfect. He laughed without humor. Turns out you can wait yourself right out of a marriage. Nina saw the grief hiding behind his casual words. This man understood loss differently than she did. He had chosen his loneliness. She had loneliness thrust upon her, but pain was pain regardless of its source. Is that why you stopped for me? Because you know what it feels like to be alone? Maybe. Or maybe I was tired of walking past people who needed help while telling myself it wasn't my problem. The investigation begins. Julian pulled out his phone. Tell me about your manager. The one who accused you. Robert Thompson? He's run Riverside Bistro for 5 years. Everyone is terrified of him. Why did he target you specifically? Nina frowned. She had not thought about it that way. About a month ago, I noticed something strange. The inventory numbers didn't match our orders. We were receiving less wine than what appeared in the system. Did you report it? I mentioned it to another server, Rachel. She told me to mind my own business. Nina paused. 2 days later, Thompson started treating me differently, colder. more critical. He found fault with everything I did. Julian's eyes sharpened. He typed something into his phone. Do you remember which wine specifically? The expensive ones. The bottles that cost over $100. We'd order a case, but only receive half. Thompson managed inventory. Yes, he did all the ordering and receiving. Julian set his phone down. His expression had shifted from concerned stranger to something more calculating. More dangerous? Nina, I don't think you were fired because you stole money. I think you were fired because you noticed someone else was stealing. The words landed like a punch. Nina had been so focused on surviving the accusation that she had not considered the motivation behind it. You think Thompson is embezzling? I think it's very likely. And I think when you started asking questions, you became a liability. Anger flared hot in Nina's chest. He destroyed my reputation to cover his own crimes. People do terrible things to protect themselves. Nina's hands clenched into fists. How do we prove it? We. Julian raised an eyebrow. He said we could fight this. You offered to help. I did. But this could get complicated. Thompson won't go down easy. I don't care how complicated it gets. He took everything from me. My job, my reputation, my ability to provide for my daughter. Nina's voice grew stronger. I want him to pay for what he did. Julian studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled. A real smile this time. One that transformed his tired face into something almost boyish. We'll need evidence. Financial records, inventory reports, anything that shows the discrepancy. I don't have access to any of that anymore. But I might. What do you mean? Unexpected connections. Julian hesitated. Then he sighed. My company invests in small businesses. Restaurants, retail shops, local services. We provide capital in exchange for partial ownership. Understanding dawned slowly. You own part of Riverside Bistro. 15%. It's a minor stake. I've never been involved in daily operations, but it means I have legal access to their financial records. Nina laughed. The sound surprised her. You're telling me the man who found me freezing on the street happens to partially own the restaurant that fired me? Portland is smaller than you think. It's not coincidence. That's fate. I don't believe in fate. Neither did I until tonight. The air between them shifted. Something unspoken passed in the glance they shared. Nina felt it in her chest. A flutter of something she had not felt in years. Something that scared her more than the cold or the hunger or the uncertainty. Hope mixed with attraction was a dangerous combination. Julian cleared his throat. I'll request a full audit first thing Monday morning. If Thompson is stealing, the numbers will show it. And if they don't, then we find another way. But we will clear your name. I promise you that. Nina wanted to believe him. She wanted to trust that this stranger with the sad eyes and gentle hands could actually fix the disaster her life had become. Why are you really doing this? Julian met her gaze. Because when I saw you sitting in that snow, I saw myself. Someone who had given up. Someone who had decided the world was too cruel to keep fighting. He reached across the table. His fingers brushed hers, and I realized I didn't want either of us to give up. Nina's breath caught. The touch lasted only a second, but it burned through her like fire. I should get you somewhere safe for the night. Do you have a place to stay? Reality crashed back. No. I was supposed to pay rent this week. My landlord already left a notice, and you'll stay at a hotel. I'll cover it. I can't accept that. You can. And you will. The firmness in his voice left no room for argument. Nina was too exhausted to fight anyway. Just for tonight. For as long as you need. They left the coffee shop together. The snow had stopped falling. The streets looked clean and new. Nina felt different than she had 3 hours ago. Still scared? Still uncertain? But no longer alone. Julian drove her to a modest hotel near the river. He checked her in using his credit card and handed her the key. Get some rest. I'll call you tomorrow, Julian. He turned back. For everything. Thank you for trusting me. Nina watched him drive away. Then she climbed the stairs to her room. The bed was soft. The sheets were clean. She plugged in her phone and called her mother. Emma's sleepy voice came through the speaker. Mommy. Hi, baby. I just wanted to say goodnight. Are you coming home soon? Nina looked out the window at the city lights. Soon, sweetheart. Very soon. I love you, Mommy. I love you too. More than anything. She hung up and lay back on the bed. Exhaustion pulled at her. But before sleep claimed her, one thought crystallized clearly. Tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow, she would fight back. Nina woke to sunlight streaming through the hotel curtains. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then reality settled back into place. The job loss. The accusations. Julie and her phone showed 3 missed calls from her mother and 1 text message from an unknown number. Good morning. Audit is underway. Meet me at my office at 2 p.m. Address below. Julie and Nina stared at the message. He had actually followed through. Part of her had worried this was all some strange dream, that she would wake up alone in the snow. With no memory of kindness, she showered and put on the clean clothes from her cardboard box. Jeans and a simple blue sweater. Nothing fancy. But at least she looked presentable. The hotel provided a small breakfast. Nina ate mechanically while researching Julian's company on her phone. Foster Ventures. Technology, investments, and small business funding. His photo appeared on the website. The same tired eyes, but a more polished version. CEO and founder, self-made millionaire at 30-5. Nina felt suddenly foolish. What was a man like that doing helping someone like her? The gap between their worlds felt impossible to cross, but he had crossed it. He had stopped his car and changed everything. The office visit Foster Ventures occupied the 10th floor of a modern glass building downtown. Nina announced herself at the reception desk. The woman behind the counter looked her up and down with barely concealed judgment. Mr. Foster is expecting you. Conference room B? Nina followed the directions through hallways lined with expensive art. Employees in sharp suits moved with purpose. She felt like an imposter in her discount store clothes. Julian stood when she entered the conference room. He had changed into a crisp white shirt and dark slacks, professional and commanding. But his smile was genuine when he saw her. Nina, thank you for coming. A woman sat at the table, surrounded by spreadsheets and documents. She wore glasses and a severe expression. This is Patricia Wong, my head accountant. She's been reviewing Riverside Bistro's financials since 6 this morning. Patricia nodded curtly at Nina. The discrepancies you mentioned are extensive. We found over $80,000 missing across the past 18 months. Nina's breath caught. 80,000. Thompson was clever about it. Small amounts spread across multiple accounts. Wine inventory. Food costs. Equipment purchases that never happened. Patricia pushed a spreadsheet toward her. But once we knew what to look for, the pattern became obvious. Julian leaned forward. He was stealing an average of $4,000 per month. And when you started asking questions, he panicked. So he blamed me. Anger burned hot in Nina's chest. He destroyed my life to cover his tracks. Yes, but now we have proof. Patricia cleared her throat. I've already contacted the police. They're opening an investigation. With this evidence, Thompson will face criminal charges. Nina felt dizzy. Everything was moving so fast. What about my job? My reputation? Julian met her eyes. I've already spoken with the restaurant's management team. Thompson has been placed on immediate leave pending the investigation. They want to offer you your position back. With back pay for the days you missed, and a formal apology, they fired me. They fired you based on false accusations from a manager who was stealing from them. They know they made a mistake. Nina stood and walked to the window. The city spread out below her. Thousands of people living their lives. Yesterday she had been invisible among them. Today, she had a CEO fighting for her justice. I don't want to go back there. Julian appeared beside her. His presence was warm and steady. You don't have to, but you deserve the choice. What I deserve is a fresh start, and that's what will get you. Unexpected opportunities, they spent the next hour discussing options. Patricia left to file more paperwork. Nina and Julian remained in the conference room as afternoon lights slanted through the windows. I have a proposal, Julian said carefully. One of my portfolio companies is opening a new restaurant next month. Upscale, but casual. They need experienced servers for the management team. You're offering me a job? I'm offering you an interview. What you do with it is up to you. That's nepotism. It's recognizing talent when I see it. You worked at Riverside for 2 years. Your performance reviews were excellent before Thompson started sabotaging you. You read my employee file? I read everything. Julian smiled slightly. The general manager mentioned you were one of their best workers. Punctual, professional, great with difficult customers. Nina felt heat rise in her cheeks. I just did my job. You did it well. That matters. She studied his face, looking for pity or condescension. She found neither. Only honest respect. Why are you really doing all this? Julian was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft. Because I spent the last 6 months feeling sorry for myself, blaming my ex-wife for leaving, blaming my work for consuming my life, blaming everyone except myself. He turned to face her fully. Then I saw you in that snow, and I realized you had every reason to give up. But you didn't. You just sat there enduring, surviving, and it made me ashamed of my own self-pity. I'm not some inspiration. You are to me. The words hung between them. Nina felt her heart rate increase. The attraction she had been trying to ignore flared to life. Julian, I have a daughter. I have debt. I have a life that's complicated and messy, I know. You could have anyone. Someone with a career. Someone from your world. I don't want someone from my world. He stepped closer. I want someone real. Someone who understands that life breaks you sometimes, and that getting back up is the bravest thing you can do. Nina's breath caught. We barely know each other, and let's change that. Have dinner with me. Not as charity. Not as business. Just as to people who want to know each other better. Every logical part of Nina's brain screamed warnings. This was too fast. Too complicated. Too good to be true. But her heart whispered something different. It whispered yes. One dinner. Julian's smile transformed his face. One dinner. I'll pick you up at 7. New beginnings. 3 weeks later, Nina stood in the kitchen of her new apartment. It was small, but clean. Close to Emma's school. Close to her new job at Harvest Moon, the restaurant Julian's company had funded. Emma spun in circles in her new bedroom. Mommy, I can see the park from my window. Nina laughed. The sound came easier now. Go get ready for bed, sweetheart. School tomorrow. Will Julian come over this weekend? Maybe if he's not too busy with work. Emma grinned. I like him. He's funny. Nina's chest warmed. Julian had met Emma last week. He had brought coloring books and listened seriously while Emma explained her elaborate drawings. He had not tried to be a father figure. He had simply been present. Her phone buzzed. A text from Julian. Dinner tomorrow? I found a new place I want to try with you, Nina, smiled as she typed back. You're always finding new places. Life is full of new places. That's what makes it interesting. She set down her phone and looked around her apartment. New walls. New furniture. New life. The old fear still whispered sometimes. What if this fell apart? What if Julian left? What if she lost everything again? But louder than the fears was hope. Real, tangible hope. Thompson had been arrested 2 weeks ago. The news had covered the story. Restaurant manager embezzles nearly $100,000. Nina's name had been cleared publicly. 3 other restaurants had offered her interviews. She had chosen Harvest Moon not because of Julian, but because she wanted to build something new on her own terms. The doorbell rang. Nina opened it to find Julian holding takeout bags. I thought you might be too tired to cook. You're supposed to be at a board meeting. I rescheduled. He stepped inside. Some things are more important. Emma ran out of her room. Julian, did you bring dumplings? Of course I brought dumplings. What kind of person would I be if I forgot dumplings? They ate together at Nina's small table. Emma chattered about her day at school. Julian listened and asked questions. Nina watched them and felt something settle into place, something that felt like home. After Emma went to bed, Nina and Julian sat on the couch. His arm draped across her shoulders. She fit against his side like she belonged there. "I never thanked you properly," Nina said quietly. "For what?" "For stopping. For seeing me when everyone else looked away." Julian pressed a kiss to her forehead. "You saved me too. You just don't realize it yet." "How did I save you?" "You reminded me what matters. Not the money or the success or the reputation. Just being human. Just showing up for people who need you." Nina tilted her head up. Their lips met in a soft kiss, gentle and unhurried. Full of promise, when they pulled apart, Julian smiled. "So, about that dinner tomorrow. What about it?" "I was thinking we could make it official. Tell people we're together." Nina's heart skipped. "Are we together?" "I'd like to be. If you want that too." She thought about the girl who had sat in the snow 3 weeks ago, broken and alone and convinced the world had no place for her. That girl felt like a stranger now. "I want that. I want you, even though I work too much and I'm emotionally unavailable. You're here, aren't you? That's the opposite of unavailable." Julian laughed. The sound was light and free. Fair point. They sat together as the city lights glowed outside. Two broken people who had found each other in the cold, who had chosen to heal together rather than alone. Nina's phone buzzed one more time. A message from her mother. "So proud of you, Mia. You're stronger than you know." Nina smiled and typed back. "I'm learning." Finally learning, she set the phone aside and curled closer to Julian. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight was perfect, and that was enough. Outside, snow began to fall again, soft and gentle, covering the city in a blanket of white, erasing the past, making everything new. The end.